Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist congregation of Monmouth County. My name is Tim Geiselman. I've been a congregant here since 2016. Whoever you are, whomever you love, however you arrived at this beloved place, you are welcome. Our mission is to create community, transform ourselves, and transform the world. I draw your attention to the backside of your orders of service for announcements and service information for next week. For those on the live stream, for the video viewers, the order of service link will be in the description of the YouTube link. After the service, for those that are in-house, we will be having refreshments in the community room, and all are welcome in all ages. And if you are new to us, please do visit our website at UUCMC.org. You can sign up to get the latest news of the congregation by email. And we look forward to getting to know you better. Please put your devices on silent as we enter into this time of worship together. And again, welcome to this place of love and hope.
I can see clearly now, the rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. Gone are the dark clouds that had me by. It's gonna be a bright, bright and shining day. Gonna be a bright, bright and shining day. I think I can make it now, the rain is gone. All of the bad feelings have disappeared. Here is the rainbow I've been praying for. It's gonna be a bright, bright and shining day. Look around, nothing but blue skies. Look straight ahead, nothing but blue skies. I can see clearly now, the rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way. Gone are the dark clouds that had me bound. It's gonna be a bright, bright shining day. It's gonna be a bright, bright shining day. It's gonna be a bright, bright shining day.
Good morning. Our call to worship words this morning are by William F. Schultz. And I chose these words because I think they reflect the goodwill and welcoming nature of all the participants involved in this service. Come into this place of peace and let its silence heal your spirit. Come into this place of memory and let its history warm your soul. Come into this place of prophecy and power and let its vision change your heart. I call up Bob and Maxine Gunther to light the chalice. These words by Christine Robinson. We gather this hour as people with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning in celebration of the life that we share. Thank you. For our time for all ages this morning, I chose a brief selection from Truman Capote's autobiographical story, A Christmas Memory. As many of you know, it's set in the 1930s in rural Alabama. He is a child in the story, and one of the relatives he lives with is an elderly cousin who's also his best friend. The story tells how they save their pennies to buy what's needed to make fruitcakes during the Christmas season to share with others. This is how the book begins. As the cold weather sets in and the holiday season comes on, I've adapted it a little bit. He writes, "Imagine a morning in late November, a coming of winter morning more than 20 years ago. Consider the kitchen of a spreading old house in a country town. A great black stove is its main feature, but there is also a big round table and a fireplace with 2 rocking chairs placed in front of it. A woman with shorn white hair is standing at the kitchen window. She is wearing tennis shoes and a shapely gray sweater over a summery calico dress. She is small and sprightly like a bantam hen, but due to a long youthful illness, her shoulders are pitifully hunched. Her face is remarkable, not unlike Lincoln's, craggy like that, and tinted by sun and wind, but it is delicate too, finely boned, and her eyes are sherry-colored and timid. Oh my, she exclaims, her breath smoking the window pane. It's fruitcake weather. The person to whom she is speaking is myself. I am 7. She is 60-something. We are cousins, very different ones, and we have lived together, well, as long as I can remember. Other people inhabit the house, relatives, and though they have power over us and frequently make us cry, we are not, on the whole, too much aware of them. We are each other's best friend. She calls me Buddy in memory of a boy who was formerly her best friend. The other Buddy died in the 1880s when she was still a child. She is still a child. I knew it before I got out of bed, she says, turning away from the window with a purposeful excitement in her eyes. The courthouse bell sounded so cold and clear, and there were no birds singing. They've gone to warm country, yes indeed. Oh, Buddy, help me find my hat and fetch our buggy. We've 30 fruitcakes to bake." That ends the quote. This is the start of a story about love, sharing, and loss. If you haven't read it, let me recommend it. I think you'll enjoy it.
Every week in this congregation, we are provided with the opportunity to practice generosity. And this is your invitation to contribute to the well-being of our congregation and to social justice partners through the good works of organizations which receive half of the monies that we collect. Our Share the Plate recipient for the month of December is Interfaith Neighbors, which hosts Meals on Wheels program and countless other acts of kindness for those locally in need. For those of you present here in the meeting house, the plates will be passed by the ushers. You may also join this time of generosity via text, and you can send your offering by mail and charge your contribution online with a memo designating an amount to Interfaith Neighbors. Thank you, and please give generously.
Good morning. My name is Irene Passmore, and I'm here to share some of my own reflections, my personal reflections, and also how much this congregation has contributed to my own well-being and my own development through many ways, one of which is the beautiful music that this congregation offers, and thank you to all of those contributing this morning. When I thought of the past year or so, John Denver's song, "All This Joy, All This Sorrow," came to mind, especially recalling how the Corps of Fire danced to it with such grace and meaning in this very room so many times with other messages as well. And then earlier this month, Reverend Craig read Melissa Shaw Smith's poem, "Presence." And the opening words struck me to my core. The year has rocked this world to its roots. My own personal roots were especially rocked during 2023, when I lost to cancer 2 nieces and 1 nephew in that year. When you're fortunate enough to make it to your 80s, heart-wrenching deaths become more frequent, and grief asserts itself in one's life. What provided support for me was attending an online workshop on grateful grief offered by GratefulLiving.com, a group whose regular email I receive and find so helpful. And our UUCMC treasurer, Maxine Gunther, is the one who referred me to that website. And in many ways, she has nurtured my development with other recommendations along the way. The workshop helped me understand how grief comes out of love, and how being present each day to the wonders of life can ease that grief. Then, as this year of 2024 began, 2 unexpected deaths shocked me, with the loss of 2 of my closest friends, one friendship of over 52 years, and the other a shorter time of the last 14. I lost both of these dear friends over the same weekend in early February, where one died after a recent cancer diagnosis and the other of a broken heart, as she despaired at the death of her granddaughter from a drug overdose and physically and emotionally began failing herself. But the friendships of the people in this congregation helped to assuage my grief. From hours spent with my covenant circle, times with other UUCMC friends, it became easier to be in touch with my own mortality and to embrace the gift of presence every day. Attending Christy Nelson's gratefulness workshop in the fall, it was offered to all of us here at UUCMC, and what a gift it was. It reinforced how being present and grateful every day gives power to overcome grief, anxiety, and stress. But John Denver's song wasn't primarily about sorrows. It emphasizes the power of joy as well. And we've had lots of joy in our lives this year. In June, we had the joy of seeing our 18-year-old grandson Aaron graduate from Ocean City High School and be accepted to the college he wanted to go to, Stevens Institute of Technology, where he is now studying chemical engineering. And we watched our two granddaughters, Kaya and Chloe, thrive and develop. Kaya, after graduating in 2023 from Bucknell University, worked diligently trying to find a job, and wow, we were so relieved she found one. And not only that, but she's thriving and she loves it. And her younger sister just came back from Florence, Italy, having spent the first of her junior year semester there. And some of you may remember in August the joy of Howard and I having our 60th wedding anniversary here. We chose to celebrate it with the people we love. Our two daughters and their families all came to services. And of course, many of you joined us in the community room after, and we celebrated together. And then completing the cycle of life, my late niece Jessica, who passed away in 2023, her adult son, Matthew, and his wife exulted in the birth of a daughter this July. And his sister, Jody, was recently honored at a shower for a baby she's expecting in January. We regret that Jessica did not live to see these grandchildren, but the rest of the family is there to support them. These joyful moments help to soothe those roots rocked so intensely by the earlier losses. As Melissa Shaw Smith pleads in her poem Presence, let us put down our burdens, our words of hate, our inhumanity, and breathe in the present. The year ahead encourages us to immerse ourselves in each day's gifts, the mysteries, the challenges of each day, the pleasures, the pain, the joys, and the sorrows. May it be so.
Good morning. It's just us. Create community, transform ourselves, transform the world. Our mission statement. I think about it a lot, especially the first mandate, to create community. Whatever collection of circumstance brought me here to begin with, it's my consideration of create community that keeps me here. And I should add that for me, create always involves some notion of fire. What is being asked of me? What is my part? For as long as I can remember, I've asked questions about being here, what it could possibly mean to occupy time and space. Solitude, neither a prerequisite nor a consequence of those questions. And yet, here I am, adrift. As curious as ever, but tempered, my edge now sharp, born of fire and water, and the hammer of time on an unseen anvil. I know you know what I'm talking about. I'm not quite sure how well I'm what's often called keeping it together, you know? And I don't mean, it's not like I'm coming apart. It's not that at all. It's more like slowly emerging from a mirror. And I ask myself, is this place a home? A home for you, Bob? An oasis, maybe. Or a hospice. I invite you to scroll through memory as I do. Look around this earth room as I do. Whoever you are, however you got here, the odd and specific histories of each of us, stories and more stories of joy and loss and the madness that separates them. Stories of the stamina it takes to persevere, to answer the call each day, all of it etched in the lines of our faces, if we would but let it. I think sometimes in that half-consciousness between wake and sleep, what it might be like to wrap the collective arms of each other all around. Here, in this space, and everywhere. It's quite a vision. Peace on earth. I think about the uncertainty of the new year that is upon us, and I'll leave you with this. It's called The Moon is Coming Up. Fire in the wood, fire in the clear, fire in the particle zoo. I can cut your flesh and then be the scar. I can testify to the way things are, but nobody wants me to. Nobody wants me to. In the gravity of compromise, I float, while all around me there is only falling. A restless, redundant guest, like Adam stretched between duty and calling. Stretched between duty and calling. I am not frightened for my body. It can go where all the other bodies freely go. It can stand in line, my good name smear, rob a bank, disappear. It can forget it ever had a happy home. Forget it ever had a happy home. And so the moon's coming up and the tide is pushing in. It's going to be a long night. Here is where, now is when. Babies being born with guns in their hands again. I pray to God. I pray to God that in the morning I don't wake up white. I pray to God that in the morning I don't wake up white. Thank you.
Sing Spirit of Life. It's 123 in your hymnal.
Good morning. While battling that pesky COVID virus not too long ago, my cotton candy congested head was in search of an easy read to occupy my downtime. I thought I found it in Lisa Jewell's And Then She Was Gone. The premise of this book is as follows. A couple's daughter goes missing without a trace. The husband somehow manages to get on with his life by starting a new relationship. The wife wonders how he'd found that healthy, pink part of himself among the wreckage of everything else. The wife wanted to do the same, and I quote from the book here. She wished she could pack a couple of large suitcases and say goodbye to herself. Wish herself a good life. Thank herself for all the memories. Look fondly upon herself for just one long, lingering moment. And then shut the door, quietly, chin up, morning sun playing, hopefully, on the crown of her head. A bright new future awaiting. End of the quote. After reading this personal description, detailing the mindset of the wife, Laurel Mack, I set the book down on my lap, just in awe of the writing. I attempted to figure out the underlying meaning of these pensive words. I found the entire passage I began with to be an acute observation, delving into the lingering aftermath of the devastation this couple had to endure. I was fascinated by how Jewell used the phrase, that healthy pink part of himself. What did she mean by it? Could it be survival, resilient? The husband's need to move on with his life? What do you think was meant by it? In reality, would we all like to say goodbye to ourselves, just for a bit, as the wife does? Pack up a couple of large suitcases and head out. Maybe so. Either way, this idea can give insight into our own psyche if given thoughtful attention. Would we like to thank ourselves for the good memories, or is that being too nostalgic and sometimes sentimental, a path to go down? Do we allow looking fondly upon ourselves to enter our sphere of consideration or self-reflection? Would that possibly be too painful or revealing? After reading the quoted passage from And Then She Was Gone, I was given pause at the psychological depth of this easy read. It brought the realization that I should not have assumed that this thriller, meant to be an easy read while I was ill, that it would evoke unexpected, deep thoughts and feelings. I think they were locked away, only to be brought out into the light of day with, as Jewell penned, the morning sun playing hopefully on the crown of my head, a bright new future awaiting. Thank you.
Now, it is such a tragedy that during our journey into our later years, our earliest memories, perhaps our most personal and most precious, are the most fragile. Like photographs that cloud, fade, and wear with time, they become harder to see with what is all too often our fading mind's eye. Should we even be able or fortunate enough to remember them at all? So it came as a blessing that a small black and white photograph, the kind that came back from the developers with the curly outer edge, my mother lovingly set into 4 corner holders, which were used in those times, onto one of the heavy black paper pages, the first in her Kodak photo memory album. The picture is of a Christmas tree, large, full, lighted, and with a big balloon tied to it. But more than the image of the tree has survived, there are the feelings, physical and emotional, that have taken root and held on. I remember being carried, still sleepy, to what suddenly appeared in the living room of my grandparents' big old house, and being held up by my father to show off what they had wrought. How did I know it was my father holding me? I cannot be scientific. Perhaps the voice or the way I was held or the smell. I just knew, and that is the way I have remembered it. It was quite warm, dark outside, so the room was lit entirely by the lights on the tree. Whatever I was looking at was fascinating and fulfilling in a way that was overwhelming, totally out of my minuscule experience. Try as I might, I could not understand what was going on, but I was not distressed. I remember being moved into a position where I could see and wonder at the things running around on the floor going around the tree, lit up by the lights on what I quickly learned in succeeding years was the Christmas tree stand. Those things running around it were an electric train. My father loved electric trains, and my mother would later recall, after he had passed on, having a little train running around a Christmas tree meant a lot to him. That whole experience lasted but a minute or two, I am sure, and the memory holds only a bit of that. But that is the way memories are. Gone now is that Kodak album, my mother having distributed the pictures among her children long ago. Gone, of course, are the elders who awaited their latest grandchild's Christmas debut and delighted in whatever of my behavior they saw. Gone the tree, the lights, the stand, the trains, even the big old house I lived in for the first 2 years of my life. But the memories, those memories. They cling, and they cling to each other, thanks to that photo and the love that made it and kept it through the years.
All this joy, all this sorrow, all this promise, all this pain, such is life, such is being, such is spirit, such is love. City of joy, city of sorrow, city of promise, life. Such is being, such is spirit, such is love.
Drat, I had to go after that. Huh? So I did another round of downsizing this summer from a condo to an apartment. 23 boxes of books. Right? Okay, they required some purging, some giving away, some donating. Definitely going through all the boxes because some of them had been in the basement for 8 years. So it was time to go through them all. And oh my gosh, there are some treasures that I just must keep. Especially the ones that are not yet digitized. Can you believe that? Some books just not in the digital world. One of them is this one, Illusions, The Adventures of the Reluctant Messiah by Richard Bach. It's 1977, so y'all don't have to know about it. But it sold over 15 million copies and was printed in 35 languages. It was on the New York Times bestseller list. This book was my spiritual guide when I was 19. If you're trying to do math about figuring out how old I am, I'm 66, so don't think about that anymore. Okay, it was so popular that quotes from this book were printed onto a calendar. Remember calendars? I don't even know that we buy them anymore. For 1978, and I loved it, so I tore up the calendars because they were these beautiful pictures with the quotes on the front, and I framed my favorite quotes so I could really internalize them during my days. I put them up on my desk or in my dorm room where I could see them, and I wanted to keep those quotes internally and go deeper. This book was fresh air for me. I lived in the Bible Belt with the largest evangelical church, that's the Assemblies of God, had its headquarters, still does, in my hometown. They read the Bible. Yeah, I can't even get that word out. I mean, they read the Bible literally with a conservative interpretation. As a teen, I was seeking more wisdom than was presented in the New Testament, which did not support me because of the patriarchy and this good and evil dichotomy. I was a pacifist at a very young age. Family, living in Berlin, Germany, as civilians in 1939 when my mom was born. So I grew up with those stories, and I just didn't see any role models for me in the Bible. But I was lucky, though. I found books about biblical exegesis in my local library. That was a storefront library. Small, right? I learned that the New Testament was written by many authors, and most of it written over 100 years after the death of Jesus. Now, they sure didn't teach that in Bible school, which I attended every week, which was a requirement in that community. And who remembers what happened 100 years ago? 100 years ago from today, my dad would have been 10. Now, there are no documents, letters, photos of his life at the age of 10. No one is still living that knew him at that age. So in my teens, I didn't trust the New Testament to guide my soul and help me grow into the adult that I didn't yet know that I wanted to be. So I cherished this book. Now, it's about a new Messiah that comes to the United States, and he doesn't want to hang out in crowds. Note, he. He likes being by himself, and he takes on a protege, a soon-to-be an additional Messiah. Note, multiple Messiahs at the same time. The concept that got my attention and lifted my spirits in this book was, we are all divine. We all have the potential to be the Messiah. You and you and you and all of you and me, together or separately. There's no hell if we are all divine. This book made me a Universalist, and I cherished it until I reread it recently because it had showed up out of the box. I was curious, did it still have that power? It no longer lifts my soul. I realize now that it is flawed by mirroring our culture, a culture of desiring happiness and of individualism. Quote, there is no good, there is no evil outside of what makes us happy and what makes us unhappy. The pursuit of happiness is a trap. I learned that through my own living. There's also a book written by Russ Harris called The Happiness Trap. I haven't read it, but it was published in 2007. I and some of our culture, we have moved away from finding happiness as a path to soul growth and fulfillment. And those quotes that I had framed and put up on my wall that came out of this book from the Messiah's Training Manual, well, this one bothers me the most. Quote, the mark of your ignorance is the depth of your belief in injustice and tragedy. Ouch. Illusions doesn't speak of the horrible things that happen to people and the trauma that goes with it. It has no words that lift up those that have been given difficult circumstances in their lives. It claims that each person attracts their own luck and also their own tragedies. I don't believe that now, and I haven't for decades. I don't recommend this book for teens now. It did not guide my soul through learning about the importance of gratitude, generosity, community, and covenant. These I learned here as a Unitarian Universalist. I've thrown away seeking happiness and have settled for creating peace and joy. And this is my wish for you for the new year. May peace and joy present in your lives and in this community that surrounds all of us.
For my reflection, I wanted to talk to you briefly about hurricanes. 2024 was one long, relentless, Category 5, 50-foot wave hurricane. Because on top of any issues you might have had going on personally, we all had the election of November 5th and the high anxiety that the whole country dealt with. And for one half of the electorate on November 6th, we woke up to a gut-wrenching, heartbreaking news, unthinkable news. 2024 was a difficult year. It was a hurricane year. But now, at this moment, this week, we are in the eye of the hurricane. This week is about Christmas presents. This week is about eggnog. This week is about Jimmy Stewart and It's a Wonderful Life. Social media is kittens and snowflakes. But we've been down this road before. We know that it's short-lived. We know that it has a very loose and delicate shelf life, because on January 2nd, you and me will have the tendency to pick up our smartphone and check out the headlines on the New York Times of the coming apocalypse, of the inauguration, of the latest tweet, of the latest cabinet pick. 10 minutes later, we will read the same article, and then we'll read the comments on that article. 10 minutes after that, we will read the article and leave our own comment. 10 minutes after that, we'll see if anyone has liked our comment. And then 10 minutes after that, we'll find out if anyone has commented on our comment. And by the end of the day, we will have smartphone in hand, realizing that we have jumped right back into the hurricane, which is 2025. And I will submit to you that we have a choice in the matter. We can extend the eye of the hurricane beyond January 2nd. We can volunteer for the ASPCA. We can write a note to our sister. We can adopt a cat. We can clean out the garage. We can binge watch soap operas. We can do anything as long as it means putting down the smartphone and extending this peace and prosperity and this goodwill a little bit beyond January 2nd. And my wish for you is that you do that, is that your eye of your hurricane is 51 weeks rather than 1 week in the year of 2025. I would also like, and I'll be brief on this, speak to the environmentalists that are sitting here in this room. And I'd like to define what an environmentalist is. An environmentalist is someone who takes a long walk at night and sees an aluminum can on the road. And he picks it up and he carries it with him throughout the long walk, because when he gets home, he wants to put it in the recycle bin so it gets recycled rather than in the landfill. The environmentalist gets a package from Amazon Prime and gets sad and somewhat concerned that the packaging is heavier than the actual product. And to assuage his guilt and fear, he uses the packaging for a trash can liner or to clean out the cat box. And by that definition, everyone in this room is probably an environmentalist. Now, my experience as an environmentalist has not been a good one. There's more losses than wins, there's more downs than ups. And 2025 may not be a banner year for environmentalists. What I wanted to tell you, though, on this is you make the same mistake that I probably make. You have a backpack that you put on, the environmentalist backpack, and it's very, very heavy. You're carrying lots of boulders in that backpack. You're trying to save humanity. But here's the mistake. You're also probably trying to save Mother Nature. Mother Nature does not need saving. Mother Nature has a gift that you and I do not have, and that is the gift of time. We could burn every drop of oil, cut down every tree, use our leaf blowers from now until our extinction. We could pile every square inch of the world under 100 feet of Amazon packaging and consume ourselves to death. But it would be okay relative to Mother Nature. She would clean up our mess. We are nothing more than a speck of dandruff on the head of Mother Nature. She is a lot more resilient than you think. You have enough of a load saving us. Don't worry about Mother Nature. And again, my holiday wish for you, or my New Year's wish for you, is a very bountiful, open, long-lasting eye of the hurricane and a lighter load in your backpack for what you do. And happy 2025.
Please remain seated while we read together number 733 in our hymnals. Thank you for reading the sections in italics. As we head into the new year, these words express what we work to create here. When the reading is finished, we'll pause in silence for a moment. Out of wood and stone, out of dreams and sacrifice, the people build a home. Out of the work of their hands and hearts and minds, the people fashion a symbol and a reality. May this house be truly a place of meeting with one another in warmth and joy and openness, meeting one with another in courage and love and trust. May all who enter here trust one another so surely that they dare to share the deep fires that burst into anger as much as the sweet spring waters that swell into laughter, the slow erosion of wounded tears as much as the soaring song. May these walls know silence as 100 hearts search inward, each for its own small spark of hope that might otherwise be snuffed out in the noise. May these rafters hear the voice of the child as surely as that of the orator, the sound of the lute, the clack of the typewriter, the swish of the broom, and know that all are as holy as the shout of a million stars. May the sun fall lightly on this house, the sun shine warmly, the winds blow softly, and bless it as a place of joy and peace. And now we pause in silence. Before I start the closing words, I want to thank everyone who supported this service, the speakers, Dave and Sarah for the songs, Cora Fire, and for the people in the kitchen who were making coffee. I'm really touched by the generous spirit of everybody who came out to support this. And our staff, Lisa, the slide, Maggie, the order of service, just our staff is precious. For our closing words, I've chosen the last paragraph of Dylan Thomas's A Child's Christmas in Wales. I realize not everyone has such tender memories of holidays and time spent with family. I read this for its beauty, for the fond recollection it brings of my own life, and for the hope that people the world over will be able to enjoy their holidays in freedom and peace. He writes, "Always on Christmas night there was music. An uncle played the fiddle, a cousin sang, then everybody laughed again, and I went to bed. Looking through my bedroom window out into the moonlight and the unending smoke-colored snow, I could see the lights in the windows of all the other houses on our hill and hear the music rising from them up the long, steadily falling night. I turned the gas down. I got into bed. I said some words to the close and holy darkness, and then I slept." Here's to a world with more of that. Thank you for being with us today. Join us for coffee.